If you're just jumping into Ashes of Creation, one of the very first things you'll notice is how important that class choice really is. The game starts you off by picking one of 8 primary archetypes, and this decision shapes almost everything about how your character plays, especially in combat. Think of your primary archetype as your foundation. Your core skills, your role in fights, and the overall feel of your gameplay all come from this choice. Later on, you'll unlock a secondary archetype, which mixes into your primary and creates your final class. The cool part is that while your primary choice is permanent, your secondary can be changed, letting you experiment without starting over. So in this video, we're going to break down which primary archetypes are worth your attention and why some of them stand out more than others. We'll also talk about what really happens when you add a secondary archetype, how those combinations change your playstyle, and which setups make the most sense depending on whether you like PvE, PvP, or a bit of everything. If you're trying to avoid early mistakes and want a class that actually feels good long term, you're in the right place. Let's dive in and figure out which archetype fits you best in Ashes of Creation. I'm quickly moving on to the video and I'm ranking classes in Ashes of Creation. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support.
The classes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Tank and Ranger. Let's talk about the kind of classes that don't scream highlight reel, but quietly keep the whole fight from turning into a disaster. Welcome to the C tier zone, where things are slower, tougher, and a lot more misunderstood than people like to admit. First up, the Tank. This is your classic frontline wall in Ashes of Creation. You are defensively strong, you can take a beating, and yes, you are slow enough to feel like everyone else is on fast forward. Your damage is lower compared to most other classes, but that is not your job anyway. You exist to soak hits, protect your team, and give everyone else the confidence to do risky things while you get punched in the face. Honestly, the Tank is a surprisingly good choice for new players. You have room to make mistakes, you can misjudge an enemy attack, and you will probably survive long enough to back off and rethink your life choices. In group fights, tanks are essential, no question about it. In solo play, they can still work as long as you know when to step away from the chaos instead of charging in like an indestructible hero. Pair a tank with a secondary archetype that boosts healing or damage, and suddenly, this slow-moving wall becomes way more dangerous than people expect. Now let's switch gears and talk about the Ranger. This class is fast, mobile, and very comfortable fighting from a distance. Rangers can deal serious damage to single targets, especially when they control the pace of the fight. The downside is that their healing and shielding options are weak, so when things go wrong, they go wrong fast. This makes the Ranger an okay choice, but mostly for players who already know what they are doing. The Ranger really shines in the hands of experienced players. You need good timing, solid positioning, and a strong sense of when to engage and when to disappear. If you get surrounded or overwhelmed by multiple enemies, the class can fall apart quickly. On the flip side, if you know how to prioritize targets and keep the perfect distance, you can absolutely dominate key moments in a fight. So yeah, C tier does not mean useless. The Tank and the Ranger just demand a different mindset. One survives by standing their ground and protecting others, the other survives by never being where the danger actually is. If you play them the right way, both can quietly carry fights while everyone else argues about who deserves the top tier crown. The classes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Mage and Rogue. Some classes do not demand the spotlight, but once the fight starts getting messy, you suddenly realize how much you needed them. That is exactly where the B tier lives in Ashes of Creation, sitting comfortably between flashy dominance and quiet reliability. Let's start with the Mage. This class is all about range damage and precise magical punishment. Mages can hit hard, and when they hit, enemies feel it immediately. On top of that, they come with a magic shield that gives them just enough breathing room to survive dangerous moments. In group fights, mages really shine by freezing enemies and slowing the battlefield down when everything starts spiraling out of control. Of course, the mage comes with the classic glass cannon problem. You deal massive damage, but your defenses are weak, so positioning is everything. You want to stay behind a tank or close to a cleric who can keep you alive while you rain destruction from a safe distance. The magic shield helps, but it does not last forever, which means you must play smart, manage your cooldowns, and lean heavily into defensive movement and timing. Despite that fragility, the mage is actually a solid pick for newcomers to the genre. As long as you are willing to learn spell combos, understand basic tactics, and resist the urge to stand in the middle of the fight, the class feels rewarding and powerful. When played correctly, a mage can completely change the flow of a battle without ever being the first target. Now let's talk about the rogue, the definition of speed, stealth, and opportunistic chaos. Rogues are perfect for players who love staying mobile and choosing when and where fights happen. They excel at ambushing enemies, striking fast, and disappearing before retaliation becomes a problem. This makes them a surprisingly good solo choice, especially for beginner players who want freedom and flexibility. What really makes the rogue stand out is their versatility. You can jump into combat, scout enemy positions for your team, or avoid conflict entirely if things look bad. A good rogue controls information and pressure, not just damage numbers. In the right hands, this class becomes a constant threat that enemies never quite feel comfortable ignoring. The classes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Cleric and Summoner. Some classes feel powerful the moment you touch them, and a tier in Ashes of Creation is exactly that sweet spot where strength meets consistency. These are the classes that rarely feel like a bad choice, no matter the situation, and that is why they earn their place just below the very top. Let's start with the Cleric, the backbone of almost every successful group. Clerics bring decent damage and reliable healing, which already makes them incredibly valuable. In team play, they are often essential, keeping everyone alive while fights drag on longer than expected. If a group survives something it probably should not have, chances are a cleric was working overtime in the background. What makes the cleric even better is that they are not locked into the healer-only stereotype. With the right damage-focused setups, they can absolutely hold their own in combat. Add in solid mobility and the ability to step out of danger when things get ugly, and you have a class that works surprisingly well in solo play too. They are true all-rounders, but they reach their full potential when supporting a group. Now let's talk about the Summoner, one of the most adaptable classes in the game. As a Summoner, you fight alongside a magical pet that can take on different roles, from dealing damage to providing healing or utility. This makes the class very appealing for solo players because you are rarely truly alone in a fight. The real skill of a Summoner lies in decision making. Knowing which pet to summon and when to switch roles is everything. You are not just fighting, you are directing the flow of battle, almost like leading a small orchestra where every summon has a specific job to do at the right moment. Because of that, the Summoner is a highly tactical class. It rewards players who can stay calm under pressure, read the battlefield, and make quick adjustments on the fly. In experienced hands, a Summoner feels flexible, powerful, and incredibly satisfying, which is exactly why it comfortably sits in A tier. The classes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Bard and Fighter. Some classes do not just perform well, they quietly raise the power level of everyone around them. That is exactly why S tier in Ashes of Creation feels so dominant, because these classes do more than fight, they shape the entire flow of the game. Let's start with the Bard, the ultimate all-rounder. The Bard lives in the support role, constantly feeding the group with sustained mana, powerful buffs, and well-timed debuffs that weaken enemies at just the right moment. Any group instantly becomes better with a Bard in it, and the bonus of faster, smoother leveling makes them even more valuable over long play sessions. What really pushes the Bard into S tier is their synergy with other support classes, especially the Cleric. Together, they can keep a team healthy, buffed, and annoyingly hard to kill. But do not think the Bard is only a team player. With strong crowd control and access to healing, they are more than capable of handling solo content without feeling helpless. Now let's talk about the Fighter, the definition of aggressive melee combat. Fighters deliver strong, consistent damage up close, and once they are properly leveled, lifesteal turns them into relentless brawlers who get stronger the longer the fight goes on. This class is perfect for players who want to stay in the enemy's face and never give them a second to breathe. Fighters can struggle against ranged enemies, that part is true, but with good timing, smart positioning, and a solid understanding of enemy patterns, they can absolutely hold their ground. When played well, the Fighter becomes a high-pressure threat that forces enemies to react, which is exactly why it earns its place in the S tier. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.